She is standing in her own kitchen at 11:58 p.m. when she finds out that her entire life has been a transaction she was never supposed to survive. The envelope is on the granite counter, white, sealed. The return address reads Hargrove and Associates Family Law. Vanessa's coat is still on. Her keys are still in her right hand. She opens it anyway because some part of her already knows. Some part of her has known for 6 weeks, since the night she found the folder, since the night she put it back exactly as she found it and said nothing, because she needed time to understand what she was actually looking at. The first page is a divorce petition. Marcus is citing irreconcilable differences. The second page is a financial declaration. Every account, every asset, every property, her name appears on 0 of them. The third page is the one that stops her breathing. The petitioner asserts that the respondent holds no biological relationship to the minor children, no legal guardianship status, and no custodial claim under Illinois family law. Minor children. Tyler is 8 years old. He sleeps with one sneaker on half the time because he falls asleep doing homework on the floor. Vanessa has been tying those sneakers since he was 4. Lily is 6. She has a stuffed dog named Captain that Vanessa stood in line for 40 minutes to buy on Christmas Eve 2022 because Lily saw it through a store window and didn't even ask. She just looked at it with her whole face. The document is describing these children like they are inventory. And Marcus, her husband of 7 years, the man standing 30 feet away in the doorway of his study with a glass of scotch and a charcoal suit he has not changed out of, is watching her read it the way a man watches a wire transfer clear. Not nervous, not sad, not even uncomfortable. Satisfied. "You have until Friday," he says. His voice is the same voice he uses to close business deals. Flat, transactional, final. "My lawyer says 72 hours is more than reasonable." Vanessa looks at him for a long moment. Her hands are completely still. Here is what Marcus does not know. 3 weeks ago, Vanessa found a locked drawer open by 2 inches, just 2 inches, because he was rushing and careless, and he had no reason to think she would ever look. Inside that drawer was a folder. Inside that folder was $959,000 in wire transfers to a woman named Rebecca Dalton, moving through a shell company called Crestline Capital Group, over 31 months. 31 months. Marcus has been building his exit for 31 months. And every single morning during those 31 months, Vanessa made Tyler's lunch, drove Lily to kindergarten, ran the household, raised his children, and Marcus smiled at her over his coffee like she was the one thing in his life he was grateful for. Hi viewers, I need you to stop right now and answer this honestly in the comments. Have you ever looked at someone you completely trusted and realized the version of you they kept close was never the version they respected? Leave your answer below. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. Because what Vanessa discovers about why Marcus kept her in that house for 7 years is going to make everything you just heard look like the warm-up. She sets the papers flat on the counter, smooths them with her palm once, picks up her keys. "Okay," she says. One word, no volume behind it. No tears, no shaking, no scene. Marcus blinks, just once. The scotch glass pauses halfway to his mouth for exactly 1 second. That 1 second is the first crack in everything he has planned. Because Marcus Hale spent 31 months preparing for a woman who would fall apart. He does not know, cannot know, that Vanessa has been preparing too. And what she has been preparing is going to cost him everything he thought he had already won. The children are asleep. Vanessa checks on them both before she does anything else. Tyler is on his bedroom floor, homework half finished beside him, one sneaker on, one sneaker off, mouth slightly open. Vanessa crouches beside him and listens to him breathe for 15 seconds. She memorizes the sound. She knows what Marcus's lawyers are going to argue, and she needs this moment, this exact, ordinary, unremarkable moment of a boy sleeping on his floor, to be burned into her so completely that no legal language in the world can touch it. Lily is in her bed with both arms around Captain. The stuffed dog's left ear is worn thin from 7 months of being held the same way every night. Vanessa sits on the edge of the mattress and does not make a sound. She stays 4 minutes. Then she goes to the home office. The drawer is still closed. She opens it with the small spare key she has kept on her personal keychain since the night she first found it. She made a copy the next morning, returned the original to Marcus's keyring before he woke up, and said nothing. She pulls out the folder. 14 wire transfers, $68,500 each, $959,000 total, moving from Crestline Capital Group to an account at a private bank in the Cayman Islands over 31 months. Account holder, Rebecca Dalton. Vanessa already photographed everything 3 weeks ago, but she reads it again tonight because she spent 4 years as a financial analyst before Marcus suggested, gently, lovingly, with his hand on her face, that it made more sense for one of them to be home for the children. "It'll free you up," he had said. "You've been working yourself into the ground." What he meant was, quit your job, lose your income, lose your professional network, lose every system of independence you built before me. Become someone who has no career, no accounts in her name, no deed, no legal standing, and when I am ready to leave, leave with nothing. She was not free, she was being disarmed. She reads the transfer, records one more time. $959,000, $30 1 month. A woman named Rebecca Dalton. And here is the detail that Vanessa did not understand 3 weeks ago but understands completely now. The transfers stop abruptly 14 months ago. Not gradually, not slowing down, just stop, like a tap turned off. Something changed 14 months ago. She does not know what yet. But she is going to find out. And trust me, when she does, nothing about this story will look the way it looks right now. At 8:44 a.m., a black Range Rover parks at the curb outside the house. Vanessa watches from the upstairs hallway window. She already put the children on the school bus at 8:15. She came straight back inside and stood exactly here because last night, after Marcus went to his study and closed the door, and she heard him on the phone in a low, careful voice for 47 minutes, she had a feeling. The specific, cold, animal feeling of something about to arrive that was planned long before she knew to watch for it. The woman who gets out of the Range Rover is wearing a camel coat and low heels. Mid-30s, straight dark hair. She walks up the front path without looking at the house number, without hesitating, without slowing down. She has a key. Vanessa grips the windowsill with both hands. The front door opens. Heels on the marble foyer floor. Then Marcus's voice from the study, which means he never left for the office, which means he told Vanessa he had an 8 a.m. meeting and stayed home to be here for exactly this. And the two voices blend together at a volume designed to not carry upstairs. But the house is quiet, and Vanessa is completely still, and she hears enough. The freeze risk is real. Daniel's lawyer called this morning. She doesn't know about the second company. If she signs by Friday, everything clears before they can. The second company. There is a second company. Vanessa steps back from the window. Her face is calm. Her hands are shaking so slightly that if you weren't watching for it, you wouldn't see it. She presses both palms flat against her thighs and breathes through her nose for 5 counts. She picks up her phone and calls her college roommate, Dana Rowlands. who is now a paralegal at a firm in downtown Chicago. Dana answers before the second ring, because Dana has caller ID, and because she has not heard from Vanessa at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday in 3 years, and she already knows this is not a casual call. "Dana," Vanessa says. Her voice comes out like a hand placed flat on a table, steady, intentional. "I need the name of the best asset concealment attorney in the city, today, not tomorrow." Dana does not ask a single question. She says, "Carol Sims, 11 years. She once found $4.3 million that a husband hid across 7 shell companies. I will text you her direct number in 60 seconds." The text arrives in 44 seconds. Vanessa is already walking to the bedroom to change her clothes. What she does not know yet, what she cannot know standing in that hallway, is that the second company is not just a financial instrument. It is the piece of evidence that connects Marcus Hale to a name that federal prosecutors have been circling for 8 weeks. And it is going to change everything about what this divorce actually is. Carol Sims' office smells like black coffee and old case files, and something underneath both of those, something that Vanessa will later recognize as the specific smell of competence. The kind of office where the chair across from the desk is worn down from years of people sitting in it with their lives coming apart, and where the attorney across from them has always had a next move. Carol reads through Vanessa's photographs for 5 minutes and 20 seconds without speaking. She sets the phone down face up on the desk. "Before I say anything," Carol says, "I need you to tell me your occupation before you were married." "Financial analyst, 4 years, corporate forensic accounting." Carol looks at her for a moment. Then the corner of her mouth moves, not a smile exactly, the expression of a woman recalibrating upward. "He had no idea who he married," she says. "No," Vanessa says, "he didn't." Carol turns her laptop around. Crestline Capital Group, registered in Delaware, 2020. 2 listed managing members, Marcus Hale and 1 Daniel Whitfield. She pauses. "Does that name mean anything to you?" "Marcus's business partner. They co-founded Hale Whitfield Development in 2017. "Right," Carol pulls up a second window. "Daniel Whitfield is also the brother-in-law of Congressman Robert Lind, Illinois 5th District." She lets that land. Hale Whitfield Development has received 6 municipal development contracts over the past 3 years, contracts approved through a city infrastructure committee that Congressman Lind chairs. The air in the room changes. Vanessa does the math in under 10 seconds, because she spent 4 years doing exactly this kind of math, and the numbers here are not complicated. 6 contracts. Combined value, $21.4 million. $959,000 flowing through a shell company co-owned by Marcus and Daniel Whitfield, paid out to a woman connected. Vanessa does not know how yet, but she knows, to the congressman who approved every contract. This is not a man leaving his wife. This is a man dismantling evidence before an investigation reaches his front door. The divorce papers are not the end of the story. They are a cleanup operation. And Vanessa, with no deed, no accounts, no legal claim, no career, no income, and a 72-hour deadline, is the one loose end Marcus forgot to account for. "File the emergency asset freeze today," Vanessa says. Her voice does not waver by a single degree. "And I want you to request full discovery on every company, account, and financial instrument connected to Marcus Hale and Daniel Whitfield." Carol nods once, the way a general nods when a plan is good. "Stop right here, because I need you to feel what is happening in this room." Vanessa walked in here with photographs, a legal pad, and 4 years of financial training that her husband convinced her to abandon. Marcus filed those papers thinking she had nothing. She walked into that office with everything. Has someone ever tried to use your past against you, and you turned it into the weapon that saved you? Tell me in the comments right now. Because what Carol finds in that discovery request is something even Vanessa is not prepared for. Marcus calls at 12:31 p.m. He uses his boardroom voice, the one that sounds like generosity but is actually a ceiling. I want this to be clean, Vanessa. $50,000, 6 months in the guest suite while you find something. That is more than fair given the circumstances. $50,000. For 7 years. For Tyler's sneakers and Lily's fever nights and 2,555 mornings, she was the one who showed up while he was somewhere else building the empire she is not on the deed of. I'll think about it, she says. She hangs up, no goodbye. At 3:17 p.m., Carol files the emergency motion to freeze all marital and business assets in Cook County Circuit Court, citing documented evidence of pre-divorce financial dissipation amounting to $959,000. The filing includes the wire transfer records, Crestline Capital Group's Delaware registration, and a formal discovery request for all accounts connected to Crestline, Hale Whitfield Development, and Marcus Hale personally. Judge Patricia Monroe grants the freeze at 4:52 p.m. Marcus's attorney calls Carol 11 times between 5:00 and 6:30 p.m. Carol picks up on the 11th call. She says 4 sentences. The freeze is in place. Discovery is filed. Any contact with my client outside of formal legal process constitutes harassment. Have a good evening. She hangs up. Meanwhile, Vanessa drives back to the house. Marcus is gone. She goes straight to the office, straight to the drawer, and she retrieves the second folder. The one she found the same night as the first but put back because she did not understand what she was looking at. She understands now. Inside, a private operating agreement for a second LLC, Ridgeline Property Holdings, registered in Wyoming in 2021, listing Marcus Hale and a third name she has never seen before. Not Daniel Whitfield. A woman named Sandra Lind. Sandra Lind. Lind. Vanessa sits very still in the office chair. The room is quiet. The house smells like the candle she lit 3 days ago and forgot to blow out, something warm and domestic and completely at odds with what she is holding in her hands. Sandra Lind is Congressman Robert Lind's wife. There is not one shell company. There are 2, and the second one has the congressman's wife's name on it in black ink, signed and notarized, 18 months before Marcus filed for divorce. Vanessa photographs all 31 pages. She emails them to Carol, to Dana, and to a Gmail account she created that morning under the name Marie Calloway, a name she chose because Marie was her grandmother and Calloway was her mother's maiden name before she gave it up. 3 copies, 3 locations. She learned this working in corporate forensics. The only document that protects you is the one that can't be made to disappear. She puts both folders back, every page aligned, every edge straight. She turns off the office light and walks out. What she does not know yet, what she cannot possibly know standing in that hallway, is that one of those 3 email copies is going to land in an inbox that will move this story completely out of the civil courts and into something much, much larger. The email reaches a journalist named Scott Mercer at 7:12 p.m. on a Wednesday. Scott has covered financial corruption for 11 years at a national investigative outlet read by 4.7 million people each morning before they pour their second cup of coffee. He almost doesn't open it. The subject line is plain, no drama, no all caps, which is actually what makes him stop. Crestline Capital Group / Ridgeline Property Holdings, Hale Whitfield Lind. He opens it. By 9:00 p.m., Scott has independently verified the Crestline wire transfers using Delaware public business records and two private banking sources who confirm the Cayman account structure. By 10:20 p.m., a federal contact, someone Scott has known for 6 years who never speaks on record and has never been wrong, tells him carefully in exactly 14 words. The Lind inquiry has been open for 9 weeks. Ridgeline is a name we know. 9 weeks. The exact window in which Marcus began accelerating the divorce timeline. Scott has written enough of these stories to understand what he is looking at. A man who knows a federal net is tightening does one specific thing. He sheds weight. He moves money offshore. He gets his name off documents. He removes the people closest to him who might talk or who might find things they were never supposed to find. Vanessa was not a wife Marcus was done loving. She was a witness he needed gone before the subpoenas arrived. Scott sends a single message to the Marie Calloway address at 11:04 p.m. I have independently verified 2 of your attachments. A federal source has confirmed Ridgeline is known to investigators. I would like to speak with you on your terms, on your timeline, fully on record if you choose. Are you willing to talk? Vanessa reads it at 11:29 p.m. in Dana's spare bedroom. Lily is pressed against her left side, warm and completely asleep. Tyler is in the pullout across the room, one arm dangling off the edge the way he always sleeps, like even unconscious he is reaching for something. She stares at the screen. She thinks about Marcus's voice at noon. $50,000, that is more than fair. She thinks about the woman with the key walking up the front path without hesitating. She thinks about Sandra Lynn's name on a notarized document inside a locked drawer in a house where Vanessa cooked dinner and raised children, and was quietly, systematically, over 31 months, erased. She types 3 words. Yes, call me. She hits send. And the moment she does, the entire weight of what Marcus has been building, the offshore accounts, the shell companies, the timed divorce, the 72-hour deadline, the $50,000 ceiling, begins to tip. Not loudly, not dramatically. The way a building tips before it falls, slowly and then all at once. Scott Mercer's story publishes on a Thursday morning at 6:00 a.m. By 9:00 a.m. it has 380,000 reads. By 11:30 a.m., 740,000. By 2:00 p.m. the number stops mattering because 3 television networks have picked up the story and are running their own reporting, and the name Marcus Hale is appearing in sentences next to the words federal inquiry, shell company, municipal contracts, and Congressman Robert Lind. Lynn's communications office releases a statement at 10:15 a.m. saying the congressman welcomes full transparency. By 3:00 p.m., Lind has canceled every public appearance scheduled through the end of the month. By 5:00 p.m., his chief of staff has quietly retained a criminal defense attorney. Daniel Whitfield calls Marcus 14 times between 8:00 a.m. and noon. Marcus stops answering after the 4th call. Hale Whitfield Development's 2 largest institutional investors, a pension fund and a real estate private equity group, release parallel statements before the market closes saying they are reviewing the terms of their engagement. Combined, those 2 investors represent $34 million in active development financing. Marcus calls Vanessa at 10:47 a.m. using his own cell phone, not through his lawyer, not through a formal process, which tells Carol everything she needs to know about how panicked he actually is. Vanessa watches the phone ring from across the room. She does not pick up. She lets it go to voicemail, and when she plays the message later, it is 38 seconds of a voice she barely recognizes, still controlled, still careful but with something moving underneath it. The way a floor sounds when the structure below it is beginning to give. We need to talk privately, before this gets to a place neither of us wants. Call me. Carol calls at 2:30 p.m. He's going to make a real offer by end of week. We're talking a number with a comma in a different place. How different? Vanessa asks. 7 figures. He needs this to go away faster than it can go through discovery. Vanessa looks across Dana's kitchen at Tyler, who is at the table doing homework with his pencil gripped too hard the way he always does when the problem is harder than he expected. His left sneaker is untied. The lace is dragging on the floor. She has tied that sneaker, she estimates, 400 times. Tell him we don't discuss numbers, Vanessa says, until he acknowledges the children in writing, full co-parenting framework, my name on legal guardianship, before any dollar figure is on the table. Vanessa, most attorneys would counsel you to. I know what most attorneys would counsel. Tell him what I said. A pause, 2 seconds. Okay, Carol says. Now I need you to stay with this moment. Vanessa just turned down a 7-figure offer, or the promise of one, to ask for children first. Most people watching this right now would have taken the money. She didn't. And before you judge that choice, understand what it cost her, because the next 12 weeks are the hardest of everything she has endured. And the reason she survives them is going to come from a direction that no one in this story saw coming. Marcus fights the custody petition for 14 weeks. His legal team is 4 attorneys from one of Chicago's largest family law firms. They file 6 separate motions in the first 30 days alone, challenging Vanessa's standing as a non-biological, non-adoptive party, challenging the validity of her parental documentation, requesting a psychological evaluation of Vanessa, requesting a home study of Dana's apartment where Vanessa and the children are currently staying, arguing that removing the children from the marital home constitutes parental interference, and filing a motion to have Carol Sims disqualified on procedural grounds. The disqualification motion is denied in 48 hours. The other 5 are answered one by one, in writing with documentation. Vanessa shows up to every court date with a 3-inch binder that Carol's paralegal eventually starts calling the archive. Inside, 341 documented instances of primary caregiving going back to Tyler's first week of kindergarten. Medical records with Vanessa's signature on every intake form. School correspondence, 94 emails to teachers, 14 parent-teacher conference sign-ins, 7 emergency pickup records, all in Vanessa's name. Marcus's name appears on 2 documents in the entire binder. 2. Marcus's mother, Diane Hale, submits a written declaration stating that Vanessa's role in the children's lives was warm but supplementary, and that the children maintain a primary bond with their father. Diane Hale attended 9 of Tyler's last 11 baseball games. Vanessa attended all 11. The guardian ad litem assigned to Tyler and Lily is a woman named Dr. Jennifer Acaffer, a child psychologist with 22 years of family court experience. She interviews both children separately over 2 sessions each, in a neutral playroom with no parents present. Tyler tells Dr. Acaffer that Vanessa figured out he was getting headaches because his backpack was overloaded on his left shoulder, and that she reorganized everything and the headache stopped in 3 days. He says she stays on the phone with him when he's scared until he falls asleep. He says she knows which specific pizza place makes the crust the way he likes it and always remembers without being asked. He uses the phrase, she always, 11 times in 30 minutes. Lily says 4 words. She is my mom. Not stepmom, not the lady who takes care of us, not my dad's wife. My mom. Judge Patricia Monroe delivers her ruling at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March. Primary physical custody, Vanessa. Marcus. Scheduled visitation, fully supervised for the first 8 months pending the outcome of the federal investigation. All contact between Marcus and the children to occur in the presence of a licensed family advocate. Marcus's lead attorney gathers his files without speaking. Diane Hale is in the back row of the courtroom. She does not look up when the ruling is read. She sat through 14 weeks of hearings watching her son's legal team try to reduce 7 years of a woman's life to a footnote, and she heard Tyler's words read aloud by the guardian ad litem. She always, 11 times in one testimony. She does not say anything when she leaves. Vanessa walks out the front doors of the courthouse. Her left hand is holding Lily's. Her right hand is holding Tyler's. The March air is sharp and cold and smells like rain that has not arrived yet. Tyler looks up at her. Are we going home? She thinks about the word home, what it means now, what it is going to mean. Yeah, baby, she says, we're going home. 10 months later, Vanessa signs a lease on a 2-bedroom apartment in Lincoln Square, 8 minutes from Tyler's school, 3 blocks from the Saturday farmers market where Lily insists on stopping at the Honey Stand every single week without exception. It is 1,040 square feet. There is no marble, no 6-car garage, no house so large it took her 2 full years to stop feeling like a guest in it. There is a window in the kitchen that faces east and catches the morning light at exactly the angle that makes the whole room warm before 8:00 a.m. And on the first morning they sleep there, Lily walks out in her pajamas and stands in that light with her eyes closed and her arms loose at her sides and does not say anything at all. Vanessa leans against the counter and watches her, and does not say anything either. The federal grand jury returns its indictment on a Thursday. Daniel Whitfield, 4 counts of federal bribery, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Congressman Robert Lind, 2 counts of accepting unlawful gratuities, 1 count of obstruction. Lind resigns his congressional seat the morning before the indictment is unsealed, a move his attorney calls voluntary. The Department of Justice calls it something different in the press release. Marcus Hale is named as an unindicted co-conspirator. Not charged, not yet, but named. His name in that document means that every business relationship he has built over 11 years now exists in the shadow of a federal case file that will be publicly searchable for the rest of his professional life. Hale Whitfield Development files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection 6 weeks after the indictment. The $34 million in investor financing is withdrawn in full. The 6 city contracts are voided. Rebecca Dalton's name surfaces in the federal filings. Her relationship to the Whitfield family, she is Daniel Whitfield's first cousin, and the Cayman account was a mechanism for moving Whitfield's share of the bribe money through a private individual rather than a traceable business entity, becomes public record on a Wednesday morning. By Thursday, it has been covered by every major Chicago outlet and 3 national ones. Carol secures Vanessa's civil settlement after 9 weeks of negotiation. $1.1 million, plus $5,800 per month in child support held in an education trust for Tyler and Lily, to be maintained and funded by Marcus until both children complete 4-year degrees. The settlement agreement contains 1 additional clause that Vanessa requested personally, that Carol initially advised against, and that Marcus's attorneys ultimately accepted, because by that point they had no leverage left to refuse anything. The clause reads, Marcus Hale acknowledges in writing that Vanessa Christine Hale served as the primary caregiver and functional parent of Tyler James Hale and Lily Rose Hale from the ages of 12 months and 4 months respectively, and that this role was performed with full parental commitment, consistency, and love. In writing, signed, notarized, filed as part of the public court record. On a Saturday in November, Vanessa takes the children to the farmer's market. Lily stops at the honey stand. Tyler finds a vendor selling baseball cards and spends 11 minutes deciding which 3 he can afford with his allowance. The air smells like roasted nuts and cold leaves and coffee from the cart at the corner. Vanessa stands in the middle of it with her hands loose at her sides. She is not checking her phone. She is not watching the door. She is not listening for a voice she has spent 7 years arranging herself around. She is just standing there, present, warm, unhurried. Marcus is nowhere. Not in her thoughts, not in her plans, not in the way she breathes when the day is ordinary and good and entirely hers. He is simply irrelevant. And that, not the settlement, not the federal case file, not the bankruptcy, is the real ending. Here is what this story is actually about. It is not about $1.1 million. It is not about a federal indictment, or a bankruptcy filing, or a custody ruling, or a courtroom, or any of the legal machinery that ground through this story and produced justice. Though every number in this story is exact, every date is real, and every document described exists because Vanessa's story deserves to be told with the same specificity that Marcus used when he was quietly dismantling her life. This story is about a woman who spent 4 years building a career, spent 7 years raising 2 children who were not biologically hers, spent 31 months being deceived by a man who was simultaneously planning her erasure, and who, when handed a 3-page document designed to make her feel like nothing, looked at it, folded it, and said one word. Okay. Not because she was defeated, because she was already moving. Marcus Hale made one critical, irreversible mistake. He believed that taking away her name on the deed, her name on the accounts, her career, her financial independence, her legal standing, he believed that removing all of that would remove her. He confused the scaffolding for the structure. He looked at everything he had stripped from her and thought he was looking at everything she had. He had no idea what she had. Neither did she, not fully, not until he forced her to find out. That is the real story, not what he took. What she turned out to be when everything he took was gone, and she was still standing in the kitchen with her coat on and her keys in her hand and one word left. If this story moved something in you, if any part of you felt your chest tighten and recognized something true in it, then you already know why it needs to be shared. Right now, tonight, there is someone in your life sitting with papers they just opened, or a conversation they just had, or a realization arriving too late that was actually arriving exactly on time. Share this story with them, not as content, as a message. Your share might be the exact moment someone decides to stop waiting for permission to take the next step. Hit that like button not for the algorithm, but because this story needs to reach the woman who has been told she has no claim, no standing, no leverage, and no options. She needs to know that the woman who had all of those things taken from her at once still found a way, because the evidence was always there. The strength was always there. It just needed someone cruel enough to force it into the light. Subscribe to this channel. Every week we sit down with another story like this one, real, specific, told with exact numbers and exact truth, about people who were counted out and turned out to be the only ones still standing. You do not want to miss what comes next. One last thing. The clause Marcus signed, the one acknowledging in writing that Vanessa raised his children with full parental commitment and love, was Vanessa's idea, not Carol's. Not Dana's, hers. When Carol asked her why that clause mattered more than an additional $200,000 she could have pushed for, Vanessa thought about it for a moment. Then she said, "Because he spent 7 years making sure my name was nowhere. I want it somewhere he can never take back." It is in the public court record of Cook County, Illinois. permanent, searchable, sealed with his signature. You are not what was taken from you. You are what you did with what was left.